No doubt hoping to capitalise on its recent releases, the TCL 10 5G is looking to provide you with yet another affordable Android device, but this time with 5G connectivity. This is our review of the TCL 10 5G. Thanks for watching 9to5 Google on YouTube. Remember to thumbs up, hit subscribe and enable notifications with the bell icon to be among the first to watch our upcoming videos. So on paper, the TCL 10 5G seems to have a very nice but quite weird mixture of hardware. It relies on the Qualcomm Snapdragon 765G chipset and 6GB of RAM. That's likely going to be pretty similar in specifications at least to the upcoming Pixel 4a 5G and even the Pixel 5. That might grab the attention, but there are some other notable external and internal hardware decisions that separate these from the upcoming Pixel series and the TCL 10 5G. Externally, this feels like a hybrid of the 10L and the 10 Pro, which we reviewed earlier this year. It's not as refined as the TCL 10 Pro, but nor does it feel quite as cheap as the TCL 10L. It's a chunky phone too that feels substantial in the hand. The glass and aluminium build feels hefty and well packed. This doesn't feel cheap or hollow in any way, so that's always a good point right away. The placement of the rear fingerprint scanner is really nice, while the sensor itself is actually responsive and accurate. I'm not a huge fan of the square shape, but it sticks to the boxy design language that TCL seems to have adopted with the entire 10 series. Having extras as well, like the headphone jack, will no doubt be great for those not convinced by wireless audio too. At 6.53 inches, you've got a lot of fun to play with here, which means if you're looking for a smaller device, this might not be the one to go for. My biggest personal gripe is the inclusion of a IPS LCD display rather than an AMOLED panel, but it's not a terrible panel by any stretch of the imagination. It gets reasonably bright and the colours are nice and vibrant with the NXT Vision activated. I do like as well that it's flat, which ensures that every single interaction feels that bit more natural and responsive. Like its slightly older siblings, the TCL 10 5G does come preloaded with Android 10. I'll reiterate what I have said previously though about TCL software. This is both a blessing and a curse. Because the TCL 10 skin isn't that bad, it's just quite an alteration over what you might have seen before. I still don't think it's bad per se, as it were, but the quirks do remain from previous iterations. On top of that, we're still only expecting 1 year of major OS updates with a further year of bi-monthly security patches. After some thought, there is no real defense for this, and I think it's a little snide of TCL to be so blasé about software support for a smartphone in general. For those worried about performance though, you shouldn't be, as the TCL 10 5G is snappy without feeling overly blazing. It manages to do just about everything a modern smartphone user would want to do, including some high-end games, but it remains to be seen just how well 6GB of RAM will hold up over time. If you're a real stickler for software, and who isn't nowadays, you may want to steer clear of this device, that's one thing for sure. It's nice to get a quadruple camera setup on a smartphone when it costs so little. Like other TCL 10 series devices, the 5G's camera results are okay, but can be a little oversaturated. The 64 megapixel main sensor is partnered with an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle lens, 5 megapixel macro lens and 2 megapixel depth sensor. None of these are particularly groundbreaking for an affordable smartphone in 2020, but there is some flexibility on offer here. I will say that the Super Night mode is actually really impressive. It's a great long exposure mode that really does produce some excellent ultra bright stills. It also stacks up well against the Pixel 4's night sight, but does sometimes feel a little more fake, as it were. However, I think in some scenarios, I genuinely do prefer the TCL 10 5G long exposure mode, and I'd argue it's better than the day shooting capabilities of this device. Video too is one area that I was also suitably impressed, at least thanks to that gyro EIS. It's some of the smoothest video I've actually tested in recent months. That said, the footage you gather suffers from vastly oversaturated colours, which does ruin the smooth, sharp results. In terms of longevity, I've found the battery to be the strongest portion of the entire TCL 10 5G package. It's by no means class leading, but nor is it even exceptional, it's just really good. A 4500 mAh battery as well is by no means the biggest, but it manages to power me through a day with plenty of headroom left over just in case. I regularly saw 6 to 7 hours of screen on time, which is more than enough for my use case. Personally, I think if I really needed it to, I could probably just about stretch the 5G into a second day of usage where needed. However, I have been unable to access 5G networks in my area, which I would imagine would really start to sap and attack that battery longevity. I get the feeling that the TCL 10 5G aims to stack up quite closely with the OnePlus Nord, but it doesn't quite hit the mark in the same way. The software update conundrum is also one that worries me the most about the entire TCL 10 series, but that might not bother some people out there. The TCL 10 5G stills cameras are overall pretty mediocre when it matters most, but the battery life, overall hardware and reasonable software experience are pretty damn good for the price here. TCL hasn't hit a winner, it's just a solid punt down the middle that gets the job done. I think for you, you'll have to decide for yourself if it's worth picking up when it does become available in your region. So with all that said, if you've got any thoughts of your own, be sure to pop them down in the comment section below. But this is Damien with 95 Google saying thanks for watching, and until next time, I will speak to you later.